Oh, well, hello there, and welcome to the Lord of the Rings Rise to War LaunchPad special. This is something a little bit different from us over here at Pocket Gamer. You may have seen a few LaunchPad episodes before. Generally, what we do on this show is we focus on a whole bunch of different games, give spotlights to stuff that might be very big, very small, indie, AAA, whatever, and it usually takes a couple of hours. We're doing something a little bit different today. We've teamed up with the folks over at Lord of the Rings Rise to War, the folks over at NetEase, and we are going to be talking exclusively about this game for the next hour or so. We're going to be doing quick recaps of what Middle-earth and Lord of the Rings is all about, as if you didn't already know. But you know, it's good to catch up just in case. We're going to be talking to one of the leads on the game. They're going to be giving us an interview in which they break down the nitty-gritty of what the game is all about. And then, of course, we're going to fire it up, we're going to play it, we're going to see what's changed since it's been launched. A couple of updates were made only last week. We're going to find out why the game is the way that it is, and hopefully a little bit about what's to come in the future. Naturally, I'm not going to be doing this by myself. If you're familiar with the channel before, then hello, my name's James Gilmore. I am the video person around these parts. But I never do these things alone because I would never inflict that upon you. Today, I'm going to be joined by a new co-host for the very first time. So I'd like you all to welcome Christina Messichan. Hello, Christina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina, and I'm a staff writer for Pocket Gamer.
Yes, and the first time you've appeared on the show. I understand you've seen it before?
Yeah, I have, but it's my first time on camera ever, so understandably I'm a little nervous.
Absolutely no need to be. Everyone in the chat is going to be incredibly welcoming and lovely. They can make fun of my beard and the slight... I lost an argument with, it was my birthday at the weekend and there were balloons everywhere and I ducked and I hit a door frame. So this is the better view of it. You'll see in the interview that we recorded, which we'll be showing in a few minutes, the scar is a little bit more prominent. So the passage of time there. But we're not here to talk about my injuries. We're here to talk about a game that we've both been playing. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about it today is because not only have you been playing it, you and your partner actually, you've probably got further than me.
Yeah. Probably.
Don't be modest. You know you're gonna trash me, and if we ever come face to face on the free lands of Middle Earth, then I'm gonna get battered, which is a tragedy.
Probably.
See, look, she knows she's going to win. So, what's the plan for the afternoon? Basically, we are going to be talking to you here. I'm based in the UK, by the way. You can probably tell from my accent. Christina, where are you coming from?
I'm from Romania and Transylvania, to be more specifically.
Splendid.
Many of you probably know. So, yeah. And I'm joined by my cat right here, actually.
That's going to be the third co-host. Who a cat will pop up now and then with any luck. Much like the free peoples of Middle-earth uniting across that Middle-earth to defeat Sauron, Saruman, and the Dark Lords, we are joining forces from across the world. How tenuous is this link? I'm not sure. I'm going to keep it going across the world to bring you Lord of the Rings information. That's the plan. But we should probably start with a small primer of what is this about? What is Middle-earth anyway? So let's consult the map. This is the map. So if you've ever seen the films or if you've ever read the books or anything like that, and I'm gonna assume that most of you are already well familiar with a lot of this stuff, but just in case. I grew up reading the books. My eldest brother, who's considerably older than me, used to read them to me when I was a tiny child. So that's quite an early formative memory for me. And of course, then I watched the movies and all of that business. How were you first exposed to Lord of the Rings, Christina?
So it's a fun story. First, I don't remember what year it was, but I think I know for sure that I was very small and I couldn't understand most of what was written in the books.
Okay.
But my grandpa bought them to me because I begged for them. They were very, very popular at the time since they just came out. And now that you show that map, I remember that in the books, the map was drawn at the very beginning of the book.
Yes, exactly.
And that was amazing. And I was fascinated by that. But I couldn't understand it. I was looking at the map, but I couldn't understand it.
It's very dense. Tolkien did a lot of lore, and that's what he's all about. He's all about writing huge descriptions, and then when the plot happens, it's mostly just people walk from there to there, and it takes a while. We've already got wars going on in the chat where people are trying to argue dwarves or elves, which are better. We'll come on to that later because the game lets you play as both or either. and even the nasty ones if you fancy a look at it. But the general gist of this, and we've dived into some of the game's concept art before we show you the full thing. So we're all familiar with this guy. This is the bad man behind it all. 20 rings that were forged at the very beginning. 9 given to men, 7 given to dwarves, 3 given to elves, and then 1 made by this guy. That's the one ring. This is the one that caused all the problems, and that's Sauron. Someone's telling me not to forget that a third of the book is song lyrics. They're very good songs. Over the misty mountains cold. That's what we like from The Hobbit. That dude, he got vanquished. Everyone thought everything was fine. Then the ring pops up again. You get the Hobbit and all that business. Gandalf clocks it. He turns around. He goes, better have a word with my man, Saruman, who's the head of the Wizard's Order. That meeting goes badly. Saruman reveals himself to be an agent of the Dark One. No good at all. This is my Lord of the Rings TED Talk, by the way. My 60-second TED Talk. Everything goes horribly wrong. The hobbits, they have to run off and go and find the elves. The elves will look after the ring, won't they? So they head off, and then they find themselves at Weathertop, and the Dark Riders, the Black Riders, they come in, and there's a horrible fight, and then, you know, your man Aragorn turns up, does a bit of a rescue. Long story short, they wind up in the elven place. They make it to Lothlorien. Everyone has a good time. They meet up with everyone else. You find yourself in league with Gimli and with Legolas and with Boromir, so you've already got that fellowship forming. Then they all bugger off to Moria. They meet this flamey boy, the Balrog. Things go wrong. Gandalf dies. And then 2 books happen, and there's no time to fill it all in. So basically, we wind up here. Pelennor Fields, the big battle that happens where everyone's very end of the Return of the King, Minas Tirith in the background, Dark Lords, everyone wanders off to the middle of Mordor, and then everything works out for the best in the end. But we don't start at the end of that story. We don't even start at the beginning. We're kind of in the middle of it in this game. The One Ring is still active, and we are trying to do our best. And I say we, because we're not even in a fellowship, you and I, technically in the game. But we are both trying to fight our own fight. How was that as a summary? Did that make sense, do you think?
I think it's pretty accurate. There's a lot more to be said, but yeah, I think we'll be here all day if we get into that.
It's an hour-long stream. We can only do so much. So what we will do is introduce you to a little bit of the game before we go to the interview. So you can play as one of 8 factions in Rise to War, and these are all of them. Now, actually, no, I will ask you, what faction did you choose at the beginning of the game? What'd you go for?
Do you want me to be completely honest?
Yeah, that sounds intriguing.
I'm probably going to turn everyone against me, but okay. So when I first started, like at the very beginning, I went with Mordor.
Controversial.
Yeah, but what I'm playing right now is not that, obviously.
Okay.
I've changed completely. I've turned, and I'm with Lyndon.
You're with Lyndon. Oh, okay, you've seen the light now. Very good. As someone has just pointed out in the chat there, that there is now 10 factions available in the game. These are the concept art for 8 of them that was obviously sent over to us. But as the game continues to grow and expand, there are more factions to go with it. And I would imagine more to come in the future. But for the time being, what you're dealing with is 4 on the kind of decent side. I say decent, but you've got your Gondor, you've got your Erebor, you've got your Lothlorien, and I can't even see what the tiny one is there. Rohan, of course, the horse riders of Rohan. But then you've got Mordor, and you've got Angmar, and you've got the forces of nastiness, which is something that I put to our interviewer to say, like, so do you get punished? Is that all right? How do you sleep at night? Being the bad one, but you dive straight into evil. I like that. It speaks a lot.
It was intriguing to me at the start. Like when I started playing, I think there were 6 factions. Yeah, it was 4 good and 2 evil, I believe. And I wanted to side with the minority there.
The underdog. I like that.
Yeah, thinking. Exactly.
Very nice.
I wanted to give them a chance.
and with whichever one of those factions you choose, you do wind up exploring this vast map. You set yourself up in one of those places, you make a settlement, and then the game happens. And to give you a primer on what the game itself is all about, how it was made, and why those choices were made, we're going to throw to our interview that I conducted earlier on in the week with our man over there at NetEase. So we'll be back with you in about 10 minutes or so, and we'll play some actual game. In the meantime, enjoy the interview.
War is coming. Time time has come to fight for the fate of Middle-earth. You will shape the fortunes of all.
I'm delighted to be joined by Nicholas Perrin, a senior game designer on Lord of the Rings Rise to War. Nicholas, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, and hello.
We're going to dive straight into the questions, and we'll start at the beginning. So, when you were creating a Lord of the Rings game for mobile, why did you choose the strategy genre over like an RPG or an action-adventure game?
So the world of Middle-earth is really big and detailed in the books, with lots of iconic locations. We think that a strategy game can really take good advantage of that by allowing players to expand the territory in this vast world, capture iconic point of interest, fight battles at very familiar locations, like, for example, like attacking Minas Tirith. We felt that so many different factions with different interests would really fit a strategy-oriented game perfectly.
And you mentioned the different races and the different characters. We see a lot of familiar faces in the game, if anyone's familiar with the books or the films. Is this one set in a specific age of Middle-earth, or are you pulling from different time periods within Tolkien's universe?
So the story, the setting is based on the War of the Rings. So it's basically the books, Lord of the Rings. And especially the state of the map is based on this, because like you will notice when you play the game that Osgiliath is already ruined, and Hobbiton and hobbits in general are already based in the Shire. And this is specific to the time of the War of the Ring. But in terms of characters that you can recruit to your service, what we call the commanders, they come from any character basically that is mentioned in the novel. So this could also include characters that already passed away by the time of the War of the Ring, but since they are mentioned in the books, then they can also be recruited as commanders in our game.
Gotcha. So there's a little bit of leeway there. I'm thinking of Boromir going down in the Fellowship. Maybe we'll see him again. Well, I was surprised when choosing factions to play as at the start of the game, because it does give you the option to select your race or ally yourselves with. Are you elves? Are you men? Are you dwarves? But I also saw that you could ally yourself with like the minions of Sauron. You can raise a kind of orc army if you want to. Does the game punish you for siding with the enemy, or is it all equal?
Well, there is no drawback to choosing the evil side, and actually we wanna, like, I encourage players to choose the evil side and help the evil eye, or maybe its allies. But yeah, no drawback, nothing, no problem. And on the topic of punition, actually, for choosing a side, since our game will have different seasons, at the start of every season, you can choose another faction, regardless of the orientation, the alignment of the faction that you previously played as. So, for example, you already chose Rohan in the first season. You can opt to choose Mordor for the next season. So there's no problem with this. Like, you can experiment.
Swap sides. Betrayal, I like it. I'm into it. So yeah. You mentioned the commanders as well that you'll be playing as. You need to recruit commanders to your side. You'll be able to get one at the beginning of the game, but after that, you have to kind of beckon them and encourage them to come and join you. How, within the game, do you tempt commanders to join your side?
So commanders can be recruited by giving them gifts. We call them respect items. When the respect bar basically reaches the maximum, then the commander will join you. And they join you forever. It's like unlocking a new hero, basically. And respect items can be obtained through different means, participating in events. They can be obtained through completing the story mode, also opening Matham chests.
I like the way that some characters, they respond to you giving them things like lammas bread, which if you've watched the movies or read the books is that the bread that the elves give to the hobbits on their journey. Or some respond much better just to beer, give them ale, and that warms them.
Dwarves especially like beer, so that works.
That works indeed. You also have to build armies to expand your reach within the game, and that means conscripting not only commanders but fighters and warriors.
So every faction has access to 3 unit lines and a very powerful unique unit, unique to this specific faction. The unique unit, you need to choose this specific faction in order to be able to recruit this specific unit. You will also have specific units that are considered neutral, and you will need to capture specific territories on the map. We call them neutral camps. And those units are usually very special, like, for example, the Ents in Fengon Forest or the Mumakils in the far south of Harad.
The game itself is all about grabbing territory, but not all of that territory is created equal. Can you talk us through the ring power system that the game has and how it impacts which bits of land you can and want to grab?
The entirety of the map is composed of territories that you can capture. They look like tiles, and by capturing them, you reap the benefits. So it's like they have resource production, but they also produce ring power. What is ring power? So every player has a personal ring, and it's powered by this ring power. So you capture more territory, and it will produce more ring power. And by using ring power, you will power up basically this ring, you will upgrade it. And this will unlock specific features, gameplay features that you will use it later on to unlock more things and become stronger in general.
One of the themes of the original book is, of course, fellowship. It's right there in the name, and teaming up with allies, disparate allies from different places, countries, races to overcome the odds. There's a fellowship system built into this game. How does it work, and who are you teaming up with?
The factions that are on the good side have something called fellowships. And on the evil side, you have something called warbands, the equivalent of fellowship. Those basically act as alliances. And you can be in a fellowship or warband with anybody that is in the same faction as you. So it's something that is under the faction system, basically. Some higher level territories will have a feature that basically you share part of the resource production with your fellowship member or warband member. So it's very important to be with strong people.
Now, in a lot of tabletop RPGs that people have played over the years, everyone remembers the initial start of an adventure where everyone meets up in the tavern or the inn and they have a drink, then someone comes through the door and says, there's orcs over the hill, someone come and rescue them. You've got a tavern in this game as well, and it kind of serves a similar function, right?
So the tavern is like a hub as well. So you can recruit commanders from there. They're all there waiting for you to send them gifts. And you will also be able to send those commanders on errands. And errands are pretty important because from those, you can get rewards, equipment, respect items, like I was mentioning those before. And a third thing that is in the tavern is the story mode. So the story mode is basically recreating the whole War of the Ring through important events or battles. So you go through there from different point of views. Yes, you can also be evil, and you will fight those very iconic battles. And from start to finish, from when Frodo left the Shire to the last battle in front of the Black Gate.
It's almost like a historical reenactment kind of thing, but you're playing it live as you go along. Well, if a player is going to be diving into your game for the first time, what's your top tip or tips for getting started in the game? So first of all, you need to capture as many territories as you can, expand as much as possible, not only because you can get access to more interesting territories with higher power,
but also because by conquering more territory, you can access further regions and capture other regions, capture the control points with your faction in order to progress on the map, progress towards the end goal, basically, of every season. And another thing is that the chapters with their different tasks, the task list is your best friend. So it will, of course, give you a lot of rewards, but it also teaches you how to play the game.
Obviously, it's a live game and it's going to continue updating. There are season passes that are contained within it. Is there anything new and upcoming that you're allowed to talk about that hasn't been released yet, or should we just keep playing and find out for ourselves?
So I cannot say very specifically what the future has for players, but what I can say for sure is that every 2 months there will be a new story, new things to do, maybe new season goals as well. So we hope with this system to provide fresh experience every single time, new content, let's say, to enjoy in the future. Yeah.
Very diplomatic. More to come in future. Well, Nicholas, thank you so much for talking to us today, and we look forward to seeing what the game has to offer. And there you have it, from the person actually responsible for all this video gamey business. It was quite nice for me to hear that again, because A, it reminds me what it's all about, and B, my scar looks much worse. You were laughing at my scar. Christina was laughing at me in the break.
Sorry.
She was like, show on your head, look at it, it's massive. I'm better now, I've healed. That was a couple of days ago. So,
Yeah.
that gives you a rough idea of, if you've maybe not encountered the game before, what we're dealing with, what it's all about, and the broad overview of it. But of course, much better to actually play the thing. So, let's switch windows, let's lose the map, and let's pull up my realm. There it is over there. I might crank the audio a little bit so you can get some sounds over here. There we go, lovely. So, this is my settlement. There are many settlements, but this one is mine, and it sits here, up where the little drop tower is, in that top right-hand bit of Middle-earth. Isn't that lovely? I scooch over here, you can see all the lands all the way down to Dongul Dur over here, and this is how my server is occupied, because of course all the games and instances are split up into servers. Now, if I dive into the settlement, I'll just go enter here. I'll show you a broad overview of what the building blocks are. When you first fired up the game, Christina, like when you were starting to play, how did you feel in terms of like being guided through what you were supposed to do? Did you feel lost initially because there's a lot going on, or did you feel like, oh no, I kind of get this?
So, I have to admit, I did feel a little bit lost with the tutorial, but the more I played, the more I understood what they meant through the tutorial, because it was a lot of information coming at me at once, and I was just trying to understand, like, is it done this way or this way? So, yeah.
Now, I always find the same thing with certain games where it's like, because if you're just playing a side-scrolling shooter, you know what's happening. But with stuff like this, there's numbers on the screen, there's things going on, and initially I can go daunted, but then you look at it for about 60 seconds, you're like, oh no, okay, I get this. This is way less complicated than you think it is. So that's what kind of we're here to do, to guide you through. So when you set up a settlement, I have set up a settlement in Lothlorien. I went the way of the elves, because the elves are snooty and great, and I love them. So I have decided to hook myself up with an elven army, some elven commanders, though I do have some people from other factions as well, and an elven main hall. Now, the main hall is kind of the thing that sits atop the pyramid of stuff that you can build. Mine is currently level 5, but needs to be upgraded, and I've been upgrading other elements of my settlement to allow me to upgrade that main base. This will mean I can get more warriors in to build better armies to go out and do the fighting bit, which I'll be showing you in a second. But, for example, the conscription post over here, this is something that we needed to make sure we can get other folks to join our army, because as well as training up our own elven warriors, in my case, we want other people to join as well. So when you when you abandoned the land of Mordor, and you started a new force, I should say that Christina's army, her progress is further than mine. So you may have conscripted more people. Have you been able to get other warriors in from other places?
So the first time that I started playing, I started on a different account. But
Okay.
obviously, I quickly converted to the good side.
Of course.
And now, my main haul right now, just 1 second,
Oh, she's
is
actually got it live.
level. My main haul is level 7 right now.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're a little above, but
Yeah, my Conscription Post level 14.
oh, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. That's better than mine. So the way that works is, because we start off in the Elven Quarters, because I've built an Elven army here, it gives me access to Elven forces that we can then build. So we've got this Hunter range here, we've got this Horseback Archer, which can also be leveled up, the Warden Training Ground, and then the March Warden at the bottom. If I drop into these tabs on the left-hand side, it shows you that I can also build, eventually, Rohirrim quarters, so I can get some horsemen in. I can build the Númenórean quarters, get some Dunedain involved, Aragorn's lot, and likewise at the bottom for Durin's folk, which is getting the dwarves on board. This comes later, once you've been able to upgrade your main settlements, and to be able to unlock that next step, I need to go in and improve my main hall, which is what I'm going to do right now. I've left a few things to upgrade, so we can walk you through the process now. You can have 2 things building at the same time. So when you can see there in the bottom left-hand corner, it says 1 out of 2 built. And if I want to go in there and, for example, upgrade my apothecary, it'll tell you how long it's going to take, and it'll tell me how many slots you have left. The thing that you mentioned about, like, what do I do? Where should I go? What you need to look at when you fire up this game for the first time and you're faced with all of this, there's a little scroll, this little parchment in the lower right here. This is what kind of guides you through the game. It tells you your progress through the chapters, and it gives you goals that you can hit. And therefore, you're not just kind of wildly tapping things and going, I don't know what I'm doing, and hoping for the best. So, for example, I want to be able to upgrade my Hunter range to level 3. So if I hit that, it will take me to the Hunter range. And now I'm in a position where I can actually do it. Bam. Now, it's going to take a certain amount of time. Obviously, I can just wait for that to happen. I can speed things up if I want to. So we can use gems that you earn through playing the game, or of course you can purchase them as well to sort of hurry things along if you want to, or you can just hang back and come back in a couple of hours and then see where you're at and, upgrade the next thing afterwards. The same thing is true of the army, and we've talked about buildings. We should start talking about the fun stuff, which is our commanders. So I've got 4 commanders at the moment, Christina. I started out with Haldir because it was a Lothlorien guy, and then quickly we got Éowyn on board. She's quite leveled, she's quite hard. We've got Dwalin, who's been able to level up to level 11 quite quickly, suspiciously quickly. I don't know what he's been up to. And just like today, Ori came on board, so I haven't touched him. And it gives you a sense of like how different commanders look when they're spec'd differently at different stages. Now, as you know, once you've got a commander, it's not just a case of, well, I've got Haldir now, so that's that taken care of. You also have stats and things that you can level up, don't you?
Yep. And on the same topic, I have 5 commanders.
Oh, really?
And, yep. Mm-hmm. And one of my best ones, or rather are, Merry and Pippin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're amazing.
I've yet to get them. That's really frustrating. You can find them all in the Tavern, which we'll visit in a moment or two. But it gives you an idea here of what their different properties are, because obviously they have their own skills, and how you go about allocating points. So, for example, I just picked up Ori here, and so basically he hasn't been touched. I haven't done anything to him in terms of speccing. So it gives me options here. I can, for example, activate a clerk using some points that I've been granted at the beginning. These points are earned as you play through the game, so you can gradually level up your characters. So I can either choose the clerk function and improve his focus, or the musician function, which, believe it or not, improves the speed of your army and the defense, because who doesn't like a good tune to sort of stir them into battle? That's the one I'm going to activate. I like the idea of leveling him up as a musician. Meanwhile, Haldir's got some points to activate as well. He's already level 12, so he's fairly well spec'd. As you can see from the tree here, I've already opened up his guide ability, leveled that up a few times. We've got over here the armed escort, and all these things have little granular tweaks and changes that will improve the way that your army fights. And I say army like it's one blanket thing. Each commander, effectively, is given their own little collective force, isn't it? Each one has its own miniature army, right?
Yep. And each one has like some stats that they to offer to the army. For example, just 1 second. Let me see.
I like the fact that you've got all the details up, rather than just like you're actually consulting facts instead of just chatting nonsense like me.
So, for example, I have here. Just 1 second.
Sorry, I'm throwing up my army
Haldir.
in the meantime.
Yeah.
There's Heldir.
So you have Haldir too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I've leveled him up to. Well, right now he's level 30 only, but only. Yeah.
Only 12. Yeah, right. Good.
Level
Good.
30,
Keep showing me up. Sure.
And his March Warden of Lorien skill. I've maxed that because you might have noticed that against enemy targets deals 240% physical damage.
Right.
And
yeah.
that's amazing. And plus 15 focus, but that's that's just the bonus.
So those skill trees we just showed you, that's where all that stuff comes from. It's really
and
worth
that's amazing.
Finding your way down and leveling everything up. But the actual armies themselves, you can see here we've got the 4 commanders, which means we have 4 different forces. And again, because I haven't done anything with Ori yet, I was saving it for the stream. This gives you an idea of how you outfit your army and how you create a force so you can go and start conquering tiles. Now, you hit the guy and then you hit outfit, and it gives you basically here are the forces I have available to me at the moment. And it also tells you what Ori can and cannot command. So he's only level 1, he's only small. And I don't mean that in stature. He's a small lad. So if I was, for example, to take the Bjornings and drag him in, that's it. That is the entire army that Ori can handle. Basically 4 Bjornings, which is the shapeshifters, if you've seen The Hobbit. Big lad. And that gives him a... Oh, no, cancel. No, I'll hit save. That gives him a battle power of 395, which might sound impressive, but if you look at Haldir up here, he's got a battle power of 5,923. So... significantly more. That's because he's a higher level. He can handle a lot more troops. The greater the level, basically, the more soldiers that commander can command. Do I want to know what your battle power is for Haldir? Do you know what his current army status is? Should I ask?
Let me see. So right now I took him to a few battles, so some of the army folk died along the way.
It'll happen.
But at the moment he's only around 9.8 thousand power, but he's at 13 out of 34 command. So
right. Okay. So again, double mine. But it's nothing. It's no big deal. It's fine. So that's how kind of you'd put the armies together. What we've got to get to, and kind of the main focus of the game really is this bit, which is you've got your settlement, you've built it up a little bit, you've got your commanders, you've got your armies. What do you do to actually conquer Middle-earth? How are you supposed to fight back the forces of Sauron? Or if you're in the evil side, how do you start kicking elves in the sensitive bits? This is how you do it. So everything that's green is currently mine. I own these tiles because I've conquered them, and I've conquered them by sending armies out to march upon the land. You can see here if I click one of these tiles, it gives me information about that tile. Now, the 2 bits that are most interesting are the bit at the top where it says plus 40 hours. That's an indication of what they call ring power. So each bit of land will generate a certain amount of ring power every hour, basically. And that all goes to powering up my very own ring, which is down here in the bottom corner. You're granted your own magical ring thing, which can then be upgraded and give you specific powers. Abundant alacrity in this case, or abundant power, all of which can be upgraded if you have points left over, which I do. Very nice. So I'm going to throw a couple in there. But I can also collect 23,000 because that's all just been sitting there accumulating. The bigger your land mass, the more tiles you've accumulated, the more power you acquire just by walking away and then coming back to it. Also, the more power the tile generates, the more difficult it is to conquer. And that's the tricky bit. That's why Christina can take on much more impressive stuff than me.
Yeah, but you can too if you attack, let's say a stronger tile. Let's say a 130 power tile. I don't know if I have any left around my area, but if you don't have an army strong enough to take on these at once, let's say, to fight it, you can just send one army, deal like 60% of the damage, and then send another before they recover. So
absolutely. this
Just a little tip.
No, this is a tip that she told me just before we went on last. I was like, can you do that? Can you double team? That's brilliant. Fantastic. So we're starting out with Ori here just to show you a basic one. This is a 1 ring power tile. That's all it is. And when I click on it, it gives me the option to choose which army I want to send over. I'm going to choose Ori, and it tells me here that the army sitting on the tile has a battle power of 130. Ori's got 395. It should be an easy victory. So I select Ori, and you can see the army marching out from my settlement, and it's going to literally spend a little while crossing over to that tile. The only reason I can reach that tile is because I've conquered the tiles between my settlement and that one. I cannot just scroll over here and go attack there randomly. You need to have kind of fought your way through in order to carve a path through the world, which becomes interesting when you max out the number of tiles you're allowed to conquer. Because you can see up here in the top, it says 37 out of 41 next to the little spinning leaf at the top there. That means I can have a maximum of 41 tiles under my command. So once I've done that, it's a case of like, right, what do I do? Yeah, I need more power. Clearly, I'm a megalomaniac. So the solution then becomes obviously level yourself up so you can handle more, but also you can actually get rid of older tiles. Say you've only got a tile that produces 1 ring power. It's not really worth it. You don't need it anymore. If you've got one out on the distance, it's like 140 or something. Keep that one, get rid of the 1 ring, and then you can start kind of almost like leapfrogging or hopscotching your way across the map to get to the place you want to go. Which again is something I found out a little bit later. I was like, oh, you don't have to keep everything. Clever, interesting. Now Ori is I'm just zooming in on something else to have a look, but he's closing in. He's got a minute to go before he's going to do battle, and then we'll catch up with him and see how he goes. So with the commanders that you recruited, you said you started out, I think you've got Haldir as well. Did you pick them because like I like that character from the book or the movies, or did you pick them for their warrior prowess?
I honestly think it's just because their gifts came my way. So, just the right thing at the right moment, let's say. So yeah, because I really honestly just wanted Gandalf.
You just want to go. You want to straight to Gandalf. That's high level stuff, though. You got to wait for Gandalf.
I know, but yeah, that's what I wanted from the very start. And along the way, I was like, okay, let's recruit this and this and this. And they just showed up.
With that in mind, you mentioned the gifts there. We're about to get into a scrap here, but while the fight is happening, you can see it play out. You mentioned the gifts. That is how, as Nicholas said in the interview, you get hold of different commanders, and I'll show you that in the tavern in a moment. So Ori was able to make incredibly short work of that, even though he has a small army. So I have now claimed that tile. I now have 38, and you can see the little flashing blue ball there. I tap that, and that grants me the ring power that will generate. So now that little bit of land will generate 1 ring power every hour. That's not a great deal, because as you can see, I've got some of these 1 hour ones, but also I've got one over here that generates 40. So there's a clear difference, and these are the things you need to prioritize. If I want to go and conquer a really powerful one, a 90-hour one or something like that, then I need to make sure that my army is capable. If I want to march on that 90-hour, I can tell you right now, if I click on Haldir here, look, it says versus at the bottom there. Haldir's on 5,900. This is 10,000. So if I just throw Haldir at it, it's not going to make a dent. But as Christina rightly points out, if you then maybe attack it immediately afterwards before it has a chance to recover, then maybe it's a different story. So you do have options. And the idea is that you'll be able to leapfrog your way down the map. Now you can see these tiles over here are purple. This is because I am not alone. Here's another settlement, Conleth over here. Here's yet another one, Kizildor. These are other people on my server who have been expanding their territories as well. And the fact that there are other people opens up the possibilities for alliances, specifically a fellowship. So this is my fellowship. I've joined a very relatively small one. We're only level, 7 or something. Yeah, level 7 at the moment. And I can show you who's involved. This is the member list. Maybe I shouldn't be showing it live on the stream, but I'm gonna out them, whatever. And it tells you like all their relative power productions, their contributions to the guild. You can see I'm somewhere in the middle. But Macelin at the top there, 223 contributions is knocking it out of the park. So they're higher level. And the idea is that once you form a fellowship, you can attack things as a group en masse. And also you can start completing tasks in the season. So if I jump up here to the very top of the screen, you can see, what about chapter 7 of the season journey?
Oh,
and
interesting.
I don't know where you're at the moment, but you can see here that it gives you, like, as you progress through the game, as you advance levels, there are goals you can complete along the way. So, for example, here, 20 fellowships have reached level 12 on this server. So, as a group, as a server, we've accomplished that goal. 18,000 mobs have been defeated. That one's been completed. And fertile lands, a load of land tiles have been occupied. So, between all of us, just being on the same server, working together, we completed this, and I can claim a little reward for that. I can get some gems off the back of that. Very nice. Likewise with the factions arising over here. Another little gem there for 45 regions controlled. So between us, we've conquered a lot of land. However, we're still preparing for battle. I have not marched on Dol Guldur. We haven't done the big fight yet. So I'm not there. Have you already conquered any kind of big enemy strongholds yet? Are you still building up to that?
I'm a peaceful person. I haven't been actively supporting my fellowship in that regard.
Okay.
I guess I should have, but I've been just focusing on growing my ring power, and right now I have like 100 more tiles than you, so that's where all my focus went.
You just came on this to show me up. This is just you boasting about how good you are. You obviously need to get some cash. I'm sure you've got more of that than me as well. But if you want to get money, what you need to do is go back to the main hall here, and there's a gold levy screen which lets you every few hours you can kind of levy your settlement for a little bit of extra cash. Think of it as a tax. And get some money, which you can obviously then use to spend on upgrading things like your army. So you can go in there, and if I go to the barracks right now, and you can see that some of these have, in fact all of them have, these green level ups. This is where you can look at your forces. You can conscript additional forces. So I need some more reserves. I've got barracks space. I've upgraded my barracks so there's some room. So if I slide these sliders all the way up, I can go, bam, recruit the maximum number of hunters and horseback archers. So it'll take a few minutes or so, and then all the fighters that got killed in the previous battle I went out on, I can replace them. You do need to make sure they keep, because as you mentioned, your Haldir had a huge army and then half of it got wiped out. That needs to be replenished. You can't just leave it and go to the next battle, or you'll be, very disappointed with what happens.
Yes.
So I think that's the. We've got to get to the tavern. This is the bit I wanted to dive into, because this is one of the things that's changed. I don't know if you've been into the tavern today or yesterday.
Oh.
It's gone 3D.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have not actually.
No, originally this was kind of like a 2D bit of art painting, and we were jumping around. This has suddenly become a 3D room that you can jump into, which looks quite nice. This is where you recruit your commanders. When Christina goes on the hunt for Gandalf, this is where she's going to find him. There he is, Gandalf the Great. Look at him. Wow. Now, Gandalf has got very specific tastes. He likes the wine, specifically the strong red wine. And you need to collect that item in order to be able to offer it to him to recruit him. So these are the gifts that they accept. And basically, you're kind of cajoling them. Come on, have a drink. You'll have a great time on our army. It'll be fun. We'll kick some orcs in the face. Come aboard. But you can see the three little indicators on the bottom here. These are kind of the relative strengths. Gandalf the Grey is easier to coax onto your side than Gandalf the White, for example.
Oh yes.
Who is Zen Gandalf. I prefer. Are you Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White? What do you think?
Gandalf the Grey. Gandalf the White is too fancy for me. In all my playtime, I haven't managed to get only one single legendary gift. So
really?
Yes, and for Gandalf the Grey, I've got 25 already. So
oh, wow.
I'm
You're doing all right.
Almost there.
Nice. Well, with the hobbitses down here, you can see that they're much more meager in their taste. They take ale. Yep. I've got a bunch of ale. I've got like 2,700 worth. And also we've got, I forget what this is, pipeweed, of course.
Of course.
Of course I like the pipeweed. Yeah, so I can go ahead and I can gift them if I just tap things here, and you can see the respect going up. Once I've given them 800 respect, I've got them. They're on my side. I've just done Ori, so I'll save them for later. But this is where you get everybody involved. The other thing you need to do down here is you can go in and start looking at these little kind of errands, like we mentioned in the interview there. This is where you send your armies. If you've got a couple of forces lying around, they're not conquering any tiles, they're not out on a mission, then maybe you want to send them off to do a few little side quests almost. And this is where you get those side quests. So I've just done all the tips here. If I dive over to this chap, See, now he's a full 3D fellow. This is the Woodland Guardian, length 1 hour, and it gives me a couple of options to earn a bunch of experience and some commander respect, because even when you've got your commander on side, you still want to keep giving them a gift every now and then. Remember you love them. Take them out to the pictures every now and then, because they will gain skills as a result of it. So I'm going to dispatch one of my commanders. I'm going to send Dwalin. He's going to head off now, and he's going to do that mission for me while I go and do other business in the background. The other thing that we get, and we mentioned in the interview as well, is the Red Book of Westmarch. This is that thing we mentioned where it's like historical battles. So you saw kind of a real-time battle play out on the tiles with me conquering the land. This is another element of the game where you dive in, and the idea is you're kind of replaying the War of the Ring, sort of. And you'll be doing it from a lot of different perspectives as well. So you won't just be playing as your army. When you play the first chapter, you end up playing as the baddies. You're playing as Sauron's Ords, and you're fighting against. So I've already started a little bit of this. We're in the land of Gil-galad here, and I'm going to move over. We're going to march on the next tile, and then you're going to see a proper battle up close. Have you played much of the Red Book? Have you played a lot of those old battles?
I have finished the first chapter, War of the Last Alliance, and I'm Wizard's Betrayal. That's where I'm at right now. And yeah, I still have a few chapters to do there, but like I said, I've mostly tried to upgrade my commanders. And yeah, because that takes a lot of time, especially because, like you mentioned before with the tips, I've been trying to level up Merry and Pippin to level 15 because they count as 2 commanders for tips. So, you know, those tips that require 2 commanders.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
That's really good. Yeah, because you're absolutely right. Some of the tips you need to send. You saw me just then send Dwalin off on a quest. Some of the quests demand more than 1 commander be sent on the way. So you're saying even though they count as 1, you buy them, they count as 2 when you're sending. That's dead handy. I didn't know that. All right.
Yes, there are some. For example, let me see. Yes, I think it's Faramir. Let me just make sure.
You go and check that.
Yep. Yes. So Faramir and Merry and Pippin, I believe, just yes, and them, and I think a few others. But yeah, and from what I've got, I just send them to do tips, and yeah, that's where all their skill points go into.
That's
because
super handy.
I really love doing those tips because they help with commander XP, and that's
that makes a huge difference. This one is interesting because, like, again, when you start off these games, there's a lot to kind of take care of. There's a lot to deal with, and I can feel a little bit overwhelmed at first, but when you deal with the little scroll parchment in the corner, it very much just like guides you through, this is the next thing, if you like, that we need to do. And so it spoon feeds you in a way that's a little bit more accessible, which is kind of welcome. And this, I was like, do I need to be playing the old stuff? Because maybe I should be focusing on building up my actual army. But then you realize you get quite a lot out of doing these. So it's worth diving in every now and again and having these play out. So I can speed this up at the minute because it plays out in real time. I'm going to put that up to a maximum 3 in the corner so I can smash my way through. And the tactical stuff from this one, because you're presented with this force, which is kind of doing its thing, you can swap armies. So, for example, if I move on to this next tile, before I do so, I have different armies that I can choose to throw into battle. And depending on what's happened in the previous battle, you know, the force that I just fought with might not be suitable or might be a little bit underpowered based on what's happened or the damage that's been done. So I've got, for example, Gil-galad's army here, or I could switch to Elrond's army if I want to. Switch on the fly and then tackle the next tile with Elrond, which I will do here. So we're going to battle Mordor's army, and here it gives you the stats. So they're level 30, we're level 35. I think this is a dead cert. Let's send Elrond out. He's got to come back from his home base, so now we've got 2 armies on the field. And this gives you a little taste, I guess, of the scale that comes later in the game. When you start to, you know, when you finally descend on Dol Guldur with your fellowship, it's a bit more like this, rather than just capturing those little individual things. Suddenly, huge forces out on the battlefield, big epic drama and all that, which is kind of fun. So we want to talk about seasons as well before we go. We're currently in the first season of the game. It only officially came out last month, I believe, late last month,
Yep.
a couple of months. It's not been around for too long, so we are in the middle of the first season right now, and season 2 is, of course, on the horizon. You did hear me try and get some information out of Nicholas about that. I did my best, but Nicholas was a little bit cagey. So, but what he did say is what you were probably expecting, but it's nice to hear it. So they want new content. They of course want, for example, we started with 6 factions. We've got 8 now. You know, who knows what could happen in the future? 10 now. Sorry, we've got 8. It changed to 10, and then I imagine, maybe that number could go up. Who knows? I couldn't say either way. But that's the kind of stuff that they'll be introducing in the new thing. They are going to be releasing information about that, but we are not in a position right now to give you specific details as much as I tried to, squirrel them out of old Nicholas. But they will be on the way. Let's back out on the tavern here for a moment, because I want to take on something a little bit more impressive. Let's jump on a 30 power land. See? Haldir's going to smash this, so I'm sending Haldir straight out to deal with that, and I'm also going to send Eowyn out. Oh, now this one's going to be interesting. See this 40-hour land right here? If I march on that with Eowyn, it throws up something else. You can see it says evenly matched there. So I'm technically more powerful, but it's very, very close. I'm going to send Eowyn out, and we're going to see what happens. Because if the fight is too close, the game uses a different system to determine how and when, you win the thing. Just to show you up here while we are looking around, let's go to the main map and show you down here. We can actually use a few options to search it for specific things. This is something else you taught me. If you hit the spyglass in the top corner here, if you're wanting to, for example, look at expanding your army and beyond just upgrading your settlement and trying to, recruit forces that way, you can take a look at specific forces here. For example, we've got the hobbits, the Mumakils, the Ents, the Bjornings, the Fell Beasts. So if I want to go and find where the Fell Beasts are, I can hit search. And then bam! This is the tile that I need to go and conquer. So if I was to march on that tile and conquer them, you'd be able to, it'd be occupied by the specific faction, and that will allow me to unlock the Fell Beast. Now, it's a bit of a journey, it's a bit of a hike to get down there, and that's a 640 ring power piece of land up there. So I'm not quite there yet. Maybe you are, Christina, I'm not sure.
I'm not.
You're not there, right?
I'm still far from it too.
But that's the way you work towards. Now we've got both our armies fighting. Eowyn managed to beat that, even though it was evenly matched. She took them down, no problems. And you can see I've occupied 2 more pieces of land. I've got 40 out of 41. I can tap those 2 bits of ring power. And as you can see above the ring there, just in the bottom left, if I hit that where it says 1041, I collect all the ring power off of that. And then I can dive into this and hit that number, and bam! I've just leveled up my ring power to level 12, which has given me additional points, which I can spend in here. I'm going to increase my wisdom, which gives me more focus damage for both the current level and the next level. Very nice. And I'll go over here and deal with... I want to expand my experience growth. I want the experience to grow exponentially, so I'm going to upgrade that to give me an extra 0.5 percentage point every time. And then we can hit that again, and... Oh, and up to level 13. See, we've already, literally just while we've been playing and spending ring power, I've managed to get quite a lot, actually. Keep it coming. Level 14, 15. Level 15. Not bad. That was a decent advancement. This is why you need to conquer the big tiles. But you work your way up gradually. You're not going to start off on the 54 power ones. Now, you can see here that all my forces are, apart from Dwalin, who's off on a side quest, they're all out, they're all occupied, right? I need to call them all back. So if I go here, I can summon the armies that I want to return, either by clicking the main settlement base and requiring that they come back, see Haldir's on his way, or I can just hit the commander themselves. And I can either choose to summon them back to the settlement, or I can hit this little button up here, and I can reinforce them. I can send the warriors to them instead. So you can see Eowyn's battle powers dropped to 3,900, so she's lost about 2,000 in that last fight. And that plays back to what you were saying about once you've been in battle, maybe you're not quite so hench as once you were. So I can send some reinforcements out to Eowyn to get her involved as well. That'd be very nice. So did you actually join a fellowship? Or are you on a fellowship with your partner? Or is he in a fellowship?
No, he is in a fellowship, but a different one.
Okay.
And we didn't really talk about what side we'll join, and we just each did our own thing, if I could say that. And then yeah, and then I was thinking, should I swap faction? Should I, to be in the same fellowship as him? But we never got to doing that just yet.
And then you were like, nah, not interested. The other thing that we should mention before we go is once you've conquered those tiles, there's other things you can get from them. So each land tile obviously generates ring power passively in the background, but you can also send people over to harvest things from it. So you can see that there's a gather icon down here. If I were to hit this tile and hit gather, it allows me to choose an army to send out, and then it will produce a certain amount of a particular item or resource that you want. So in this case, we've got grain. I'm going to send Haldir out, and he's going to spend some time kind of gathering away on that tile. And each of the tiles generates different things. So I mentioned you want to look at the power, and this one generates grain. This one also generates grain. This one generates ore, for example. And ore is an extremely useful resource. So if you're not generating enough, and you can see all my resources there on the top of the screen in kind of green on the left-hand side, that's how you start generating more rather than just passively waiting for it to kind of roll in out of nowhere. I appreciate that. Like, we haven't even... we're nearly there. We're nearly at the end of the stream, Christina.
Well, there were a few other things I wanted to tell you, but oh my God.
Quick. Mention one more thing. One more thing before we go.
Yes,
Go on.
one more thing. When you mentioned commanders in Season 2, there's something that I noticed in the game that will be unlocked with Season 2.
Oh, yes.
Yes, when you go to each commander and you press on the little sword at the bottom, you'll see that each has their own unique gear. For example, Haldir has the armor. Yeah, and I believe that's going to be something interesting because each commander has a very, let's say, specific piece of equipment, like a shield, and I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Eowyn's got... Okay, right, nice. That's good to know as well. This is extremely handy. I like Eowyn's like shield smashing move when you go in, and
exactly.
that's kind of boss. I approve of this. All right, so though a little teaser for what's to come in Season 2, but as you can tell, we've playing 40 minutes, and we could talk about it for a lot longer. But the idea is this is a little teaser, a little explainer. So we're not trying to overwhelm you with too much information at first. And as you can see, I deliberately didn't play it for 2 months straight to show you my massive army, because this has been me playing for like a week or so, picking it up every now and then. I've not spent any money. I haven't done anything like that. This is just a natural kind of progression through the game, if you like. So when you decide, if you decide to fire it up and go and look at it, because it's currently available at the minute on your app stores for your iPhone and iPad, or on Google Play if you're on Android. So by all means, go and have a look. And if this sparked your interest, but you're like, hang on a minute, I missed that bit, and what was he saying there, and I don't know what's going on, don't worry, because at Pocket Gamer, which is of course the site that we're all about over here, you can go and find guides that we have written. There's a bunch of resources for the game that our folks have created. I'm sure you've been involved with creating them, Christina.
Both me and my partner, actually.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
So if you want more tips, like the useful things that she knew that I didn't, then you can go to the links that are probably being thrown into the chat as we speak, and you'll be able to go and check out sort of some beginner's guides and that sort of thing, because, I'm the same. I go into these things and I look for a little help near the top because, why not? I'd rather go and check out someone who knows a little bit more than me. I'm not a proud man, Christina. I know what I don't know. But before long, you'll have a settlement, you have your land, you'll build them up, you've got a bunch of commanders, and you'll be ready, you'll be fighting fit and ready to tackle that big base down there, that big old, look at that, Karas Galadun, or there's bad things happening in Middle-earth. We've got to go and sort them out. Let's go and have a look. Oof. Or we could just check out, oh, that looks terrifying. I'm not going anywhere near there. No, sorry, I'm too weak. We'll have to wait. We'll do another stream later where I'm incredibly powerful and I can boast at you for a change. But if you've watched throughout this whole stream, thank you for being with us. It's been lovely to spend a little bit of time with you. I hope some of that was at least useful, interesting, entertaining, ridiculous. Pick an adjective, I don't mind. Christina, it's been lovely to talk to you for the hour.
It's been lovely to talk to you too, and I'm super excited to have made an appearance here.
Yes, we'll be having... You're now our designated Lord of the Rings Rise to War expert, so we'll be getting you back before long. And if you want to check anything out related to the game, find those links in the chat, go to Pocket Gamer and have a little search for the game. And if you want to play it, it's available right now on all the mobile devices in the App Store, so go follow the links and take a look. Thank you to the folks at Lord of the Rings Rise to War and NetEase for working with us on this. And hopefully we'll be back with some more stuff in future. Make sure you subscribe to the LaunchPad Twitch stream, which is over there on Pocket Gamer Live, and the YouTube channel as well. But in the meantime, I will see you soon, Christina.
See you soon.
And I will hopefully see all of you soon as well.
Yep.
Take care of yourselves. We will be back in a bit. Bye-bye.